There's a difference between people who are talented and people who perform at a level that makes other talented people stop and take notice. And for most of my life I assumed that difference was something you were born with. Some kind of wiring. Some innate capacity. Some starting advantage that the high performers had from the beginning and the rest of us were simply working around. But the more I studied this, the actual psychology underneath, not the motivational surface version, the more a different picture emerged. And the picture was uncomfortable. The gap between where most people are and where the highest performers operate is not a talent gap. It is a training gap. Specifically, a mental training gap. And by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly what that training looks like, why almost nobody does it consistently, and what it would mean for your life if you started. Stay with me. If you're new here, this channel is about the real psychology behind peak performance and why smart people stay stuck. Subscribe and hit the bell. We put out content every week that is actually worth your time. Quick thing before we start. Drop a number in the comments right now on a scale of 1 to 10. How deliberately do you currently train your mind each day? 1 means you coast entirely on default. 10 means you have a structured daily practice you stick to consistently, rain or shine, whether you feel like it or not. Most people who answer honestly land somewhere between 3 and 5. And that gap between 3 and 10 is exactly what this video is about. Drop the number. I genuinely want to know where this community is starting from. We will come back to it at the end, and I want to see how your numbers shifted after watching this. Here's the first thing that needs to be said, because it reframes everything that follows. When most people hear the phrase mental training, they picture something soft. Meditation apps, journaling prompts, gratitude lists, and those things are not nothing. But what the highest performers actually do to train their minds is something far more specific, far more deliberate, and far less comfortable than anything in a wellness app. Ere is why. The core principle of genuine mental training is identical to the core principle of physical training. The adaptation happens in response to stress, not in response to ease. The muscle grows when it is pushed past what it can currently do. The mind sharpens in exactly the same way. And this is where most people's mental development stops. Not because they lack desire, because the environment they have built for themselves offers almost no genuine cognitive challenge. Everything is already framed for them. Every conclusion is pre-packaged. Every difficult question has a confident answer available somewhere that requires nothing of them except to receive it. And here is what almost nobody realizes, and this changes everything about how you see your own potential. The high performers are not doing more. In many cases, they are doing less. But what they are doing with a quality of attention and intentionality that most people never bring to anything. The difference is not volume. It is the presence of specific daily mental practices that sharpen the cognitive functions that matter most, and the consistent refusal to coast on yesterday's competence. Think about 2 people in the same role, same title, same experience, same company. One of them ends each day by reviewing the quality of their own thinking. The other ends each day by scrolling. One of them deliberately works on the cognitive skills at the outer edge of their current ability. The other stays comfortably inside what they already do well. A week in, you cannot see the difference. A month in, still invisible. But 2 years in, same role, same title, same starting point. These 2 people are not in the same place. The gap is not talent. It is the accumulated effect of daily mental habits, compounded quietly, invisibly, 1 day at a time. You can be talented and coast. Plenty of talented people do. The high performers coast almost never, not because they grind harder in the exhausting sense, because they have built systems that make deliberate cognitive engagement their default mode, not an occasional event. Default, and those systems, examined carefully, reveal a set of patterns that show up across fields, across cultures, across wildly different domains of performance. Let me walk you through what those patterns actually are. The first pattern is what I call the daily review. The word review sounds passive, going over what happened, noting at dawn. That is not what this is. What the high performers actually do is uncomfortable. They end each day with a structured examination of their decisions. not their outcomes, their decisions. Why the distinction matters. Outcomes involve luck. If you evaluate yourself on outcomes, you take credit when things go well for the wrong reasons, and deflect blame when things go badly. You learn nothing. Evaluating decisions strips that noise away. It asks the harder question. Did I reason as well as I was capable of? Did I take the shortcut I knew I was taking? Did I do the right thing or the easy thing? That is it. Nothing more complicated. And the discomfort of answering those questions honestly is not a side effect of the practice. It is the practice. The second pattern is deliberate practice. Most people think deliberate practice means repetition, but repetition alone does not produce growth. The defining feature is simpler and more demanding than that. Deliberate practice specifically targets the current outer edge of your capacity, not your comfort zone, not the level where you already perform reliably. The precise point where what you are trying to do is just beyond what you can currently do well. And here is the part that makes most people uncomfortable. That zone at the outer edge is where mistakes happen. You have to think slowly rather than fluidly. The effort feels real rather than habitual. Most people practice inside their competence. The reps feel clean. The feedback feels positive. And almost no growth is happening. Because growth requires the edge. The edge requires being willing to be genuinely bad at something on purpose as a regular feature of your day. If you are a strategic thinker, find a strategic problem in a domain you do not know well. If you are analytically strong, work through problems that require emotional intelligence instead. Whatever your strengths are, the edge is exactly where those strengths run out. That is where the training is. The third pattern is input curation. Your thinking operates on whatever you feed it. Low-quality input produces low-quality thinking. High performers are not high-volume consumers. They are high-selectivity consumers. They read fewer things and go deeper. They seek primary sources instead of summaries, and they deliberately expose themselves to ideas they disagree with, because disagreement forces deeper thinking. Here is the most important part. These three patterns work as a system. Daily review shows you where your thinking is weak. Deliberate practice strengthens those weak areas. Intentional input gives your mind better material to work with. Run all three together and the compounding effect is real, not in a week, but across months and years. And eventually, the difference becomes visible. A decision under pressure becomes clearer. A difficult problem becomes manageable. Your thinking becomes sharper. And that is when people start to notice the difference. Not because you suddenly became more talented, because you trained your mind daily. One honest session at a time.